Hello everybody, Tate Davis here with another album review for you. And what album are we going to be reviewing today, ladies and gentlemen? Look at this. Probably one of the ugliest album covers you've ever seen, huh? Take a nice long look at it. I'll wait. Pause the video. Look at this. Kids, don't buy this album. Your mom won't be happy with you. If you went to a record store in 1983, in August of 1983 when this came out, and you noticed this peeking at you, you'd have to go and investigate. Yeah, Born Again. Black Sabbath, originally released in August of 1983. This is the one and only album with former Deep Purple and Ian Gillan band and Gillan lead vocalist Ian Gillan. Yeah, I'm gonna review it for you. Now a little history behind this album. So in 1982, amidst disagreements over the mixing of the live album Live Evil, which was recorded on the Mob Rules tour, Rodney James Dio and Vinny Appice leave Black Sabbath. And Tony and Geezer are like, well, okay, what do we do now? So they end up meeting with Ian Gillan, and the night they meet, they go out to a pub and just get totally sloshed. And eventually, Gillan wakes up the next morning to his manager saying, you know, you might want to tell me first before you make these career moves like that. And Gillan said, what are you talking about? And he said, apparently you just joined Black Sabbath. And Gillan's like, what the hell did we do last night? Amidst a newly sober Bill Ward comes in, who was the original drummer of Sabbath and had left in 1980 in the middle of the Heaven and Hell tour to be replaced by Vinny Appice. And then a newly sober, obviously he had a huge alcohol problem, and Bill came back newly sober. So basically you have the original lineup of Sabbath with Ian Gillan on lead vocals instead of Ozzy. Interesting. And what they do is they team up with Robin Black, who had been an engineer on their previous albums, and they go to, I believe it was called The Manor in London, which was next door to a church. And during the recording of that album, they kept on getting noise complaints from the church next door, and Ian Gillan wrote the lyrics to a song on this album called Disturbing the Priest, which we're going to get to in a minute. And so this album comes out, it gets a lot of publicity, basically a Black Sabbath Deep Purple supergroup. Fans of both bands were very, very, very interested in what they had to hear. And as explained by this cover right here, what apparently the story was that the guy who was commissioned to do the cover for this album, I think was commissioned to do another cover, an album cover for, I believe it was Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne. So, because he was probably an Ozzy Osbourne fanboy, he decided to give Black Sabbath the worst cover ever for this album, and focused all his efforts on the Bark at the Moon album cover. And what he did was he basically copied a crying baby from a medical journal and painted it red and put the green eyes, devil horns, and claws and fangs on it. And his idea behind this cover design was that, the band members will hate it, and it won't sell. And, I don't know. Apparently he didn't like Black Sabbath. Apparently he was an Ozzy Osbourne fanboy. I don't know what it was. But then Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler said, oh, we love it! Ian Gillan, on the other hand, reportedly puked when he first saw this album cover and just hated it. Bill Ward, I don't know what his stance on the album cover is, but nevertheless, On the tour, the Born Again tour, there was all sorts of mishaps. You know, Ian Gillan couldn't remember the lyrics to any of the Ozzy or Dio era songs, and he couldn't really see it because Black Sabbath utilized dry ice, and his flip book that he was he was flipping with his feet, was shrouded by the dry ice, and he couldn't remember any of the lyrics. There was an incident with the Stonehenge stage set that they wanted to do. Don Arden, who was managing them at the time, wanted to get sent to the production company. When he wrote down the dimensions for the Stonehenge set to the production company that was supposed to make it, he wrote it down in feet, but the production company thought it was meters. So the Stonehenge set ended up being so big that for certain venues on the tour they couldn't even use it. And not to mention that they hired a couple of shorter folks to dress up as the Devil Baby and run across the stage and shriek, which was kind of bizarre. And eventually, by the end of the tour, by the end of next year, Gillan had left. They also recruited Bev Bevan of Electric Light Orchestra to play drums on the tour because Bill Ward relapsed into alcohol and decided to leave the band again, and they got Bev Bevan, which was kind of an odd choice for the tour. I think Tony Iommi was kind of going for a friend from Birmingham. But and anyway, Bevan ends up leaving at the end of the tour. Gillan ends up leaving at the end of the tour to go join the Deep Purple reunion, leaving Tony and Geezer again without a singer and a drummer, as before in 1982 when Dio and Absy left the band. So anyway, again, this is the album cover, probably the ugliest album cover that you'll ever see. I kind of like it. I think it's funny. I think it's so bad that it's good, but I can totally see why people would be offended by this album cover. We have this right here. We have all the band members. Nothing really on the inside that's worth seeing. So again, the lineup on here, we have Ian Gillan, obviously, on lead vocals, Tony Iommi on guitars, Geezer Butler on bass, and then Bill Ward on drums. Again, co-produced and engineered by Robin Black. Here's the thing about Born Again. I like the album. I think it's pretty good. Far from Sabbath's best work, but a very interesting album. I think Robin Black did a tremendously atrocious job. Oxymoron there. Tremendously atrocious job mixing it. I think that Tony Iommi personally should go in and remix it and re-release it again so it sounds better. I can only basically, I can't even hear Geezer Butler in the mix. Bill Ward's drums are mixed very low, and all I hear is Tony Iommi guitar shredding and Ian Gillan shrieking up a storm. That's what I have to say on here. This album has Ian Gillan's best vocal performance ever, in my opinion. His voice never sounded the same after that from all the live recordings and videos that I've watched from that era, but Ian Gillan is just shrieking up a storm on here. I think he basically blew out his voice on this album and tour with Sabbath. But that's basically all I hear. And I like Bill Ward. I'm a drummer. Bill Ward's a great drummer. I want to hear him play. And he plays really well in this album, too. But that's beside the point. So mixing, obviously, it's a very muddy-sounding album that I think is due for a remix. And I think that I think the production on here is just absolutely awful and horrendous. But let's get into the songs themselves. You can kind of let that slide if the songs are really good, and there's some good songs on here. So, starting off with the album, side 1 track 1, Trashed. A very blazing way to start out the album. You know, I believe Ian Gillan wrote this song about a car that he was driving around the studio. He was driving a racetrack around the studio, and he was driving drunk, and he crashed into a tree or something like that. I think that's the story. Just a good hard rocker with some screaming guitar work by Iommi and some shrieking by Gillen and Bill Ward pounding up a storm on here. What more can you say about Trashed? A great song. Great song, and I think it's a very great way to start out the album with its fast-paced nature of it, the fast-paced feel. Side 2, track 2, Stonehenge, take it or leave it. It's an intro. It's an avant-garde intro to the next song. Side 1, track 3, Disturbing the Priest, which I talked about whose lyrics were written by Ian Gillan after the church next door to the studio that they were recording this album at kept calling on him for noise complaints. In my opinion, I think this is Gillan's second best vocal performance on this album. He is really just shrieking up a storm on here. Disturbing the priest! Sounding really shriekadocious, I guess is the word for it. Again, really, really great guitar work by Tony Iommi on this one. Bill Ward, again, pounding away. It kind of gets quiet and really soft, and spots right there, some different effects kind of take over it. But Disturbing the Priest, it's not my favorite on the album, but it's good. It's good. I really enjoy it. Again, side 1, track 4 here, we have The Dark, which is basically an intro to Zero the Hero. Zero the Hero is a very good song. I believe there's a lot of speculation among fans that Guns N' Roses took the main riff to the song and used it in Paradise City. The kind of take it or leave it there if it sounds similar or not. No, I probably, in my opinion, Iommi's best soloing on this album is on Zero the Hero. I really like this one. Just has kind of like a driving, marching kind of. You can kind of march to it a little bit. Great drumming by Bill Ward. Bill Ward just laying it down in true stereotypical drummer fashion. Again, great vocals by this guy right here, Ian Gillan. So flip it over to side 2, track 1. We have my favorite song on the album, Digital Bitch. Man, this song is good. You just flip that over and you put the needle on, and then it's just all of a sudden you hear that riff by Tony Iommi. It's like, yeah, this is gonna be good. Now, there's a lot of speculation that Digital Bitch was written about Sharon Osbourne, which I don't think is true, but you can kind of, one would guess that by listening to the lyrics. She wears out leathers to satisfy, the richest bitch in town, I don't know. But, very good drumming by this guy right here, Bill Ward, on this one, and, again, one of Tony Iommi's best riffs right here, and, great screaming here, shrieking by Ian Gillan. If only I could hear Geezer Butler. Thanks, Robin Black. Okay, side 2, track 2. Probably my second favorite. Oh yeah, Digital Bitch is my favorite song on the album. Forgot to mention that. Side 2, track 2, my favorite song on the album, the title track, Born Again. In my humble opinion, the best vocal Ian Gillan ever did. Let me repeat that. The best vocal that Ian Gillan ever recorded was on the title track to Black Sabbath's Born Again album. Great, just really, what can you say? It's a ballad, it's a power ballad. Almost kind of brings a tear to your eye in a really weird way. Because you listen to Gillan just shrieking on it. He's shrieking to the heavens. It's just, you listen to that and it's like, you know after this album that his voice would never be the same again, and it's kind of like the sonic goodbye to the once powerhouse vocalist we knew as Ian, the powerhouse vocalist that we once knew as Ian Gillan. Granted, Ian Gillan is a very different vocal approach right now, since then, but that I'm sorry you had to hear that. It just really just brings chills. And once again, very lyrical drum work by Bill Ward, really accenting the mood of the song with what Gillan's singing, and kind of really in sync with Tony Iommi here on guitar. Blazing guitar solo, a really great guitar solo by Tony Iommi to really finish out that song. So, title track to Born Again, my second favorite on the album, and in my opinion, the best vocal that Ian Gillan ever laid down to record. Side 2, track 3, Hotline. Not really much to say here. It's just more kind of your upper mid-tempo rocker. Great riff by Iommi. Screaming vocals by Ian Gillan. Bill Ward really laying it down here. It was a live staple for the band too on this tour. It's a good one. And then side 2, track 4, Keep It Warm. It's okay. Not probably my least favorite on the album. It's okay. Keep It Warm. It's a slow song. Bill Ward does some really cool drum fills in the song during the chorus. Gillan does some shrieking on this one. Yeah, Keep It Warm. Good way to close out the album, I think. So overall, I would like this. It's Born Again is a pretty good album. Far from Sabbath's best. I would like it a lot better if the production was not so crappy. Just my opinion. But really, Ian Gillan's voice, Ian Gillan really screaming his way into a new vocal style in this album. This is the end of one chapter of a vocalist right here, and the beginning of a new one on this album. What else can I say? Probably again my favorite on this album. Side 2 I think is a lot stronger than side 1. My favorite song on this album is Digital Bitch. My least favorite is probably Keep It Warm, although I don't dislike Keep It Warm that much. Yeah, it just makes you think what could have happened if this lineup ever did more. If Black Sabbath ever did another album with Ian Gillan. Although Ian Gillan and Tony Iommi would go on to release an album of new material in, I believe, the mid-90s? Somewhere around that. I forgot the name of it. But no, Black Sabbath Born Again, a must-listen for any hardcore Black Sabbath and Deep Purple fan. Leave your thoughts on this album in the comment section below. Again, stare at this cover. Take a nice long look at it. So bad it's good. I want to thank you guys for listening to my review of this album, and stay tuned for more things in the future. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.